So let's start. So today we're going to go over solving quadratic equation by factoring. And we're going to start with kind of review, going over factoring, what is factoring. And when you factor, pretty much you have to keep in mind, always start with factor the greatest common factor. That's what you need to do first. So after you factor the greatest common factor, then you have to see how many terms you have. You can have 2 terms, you can have 3 terms, or you can have 4 or more terms. And then depends how many terms you have, you're going to use different methods. So if you have 4 terms, you're going to factor by grouping. That's grouping method. Oops, hold on. I accept somebody in the meeting, so let's write it again, grouping. So you're going to factor by groups. If you have 3 terms, you're going to factor trinomial. And if you have 2 terms, you're going to factor difference of squares or difference of cubes. So if there are 2 terms, it's square or cubes. If there are 3, it's trinomial AC method. And then 4 groups is by, if you have 4 terms, is by grouping. Okay, so let's do some actual questions. So first, let's start with number 1. So how you factor the greatest common factor? You just look at the 2 terms. You have 1 term, 2 terms, and see what they have in common. Both of those have 10, so you're going to pull out 10, and you have y squared plus 1 left. Now here, be careful when you factor something. Inside, you have to have the same number of terms. So you have 2 terms given, and you have 2 more terms. It's okay, Alexis, it's happened to me also. Okay, so let's do like 1 or 2 more of this. Let's do number 3. In number 3, the numbers are 15 and 21. So what is the common factor here? And then you have x squared and x to the 5th. So looking at the numbers 15 and 21, they have common factor 3 because both of those numbers are divisible by 3. And also both of those terms, they have x with the lowest exponent is 2. So you're going to factor square. And then when you look at this, like technically you're dividing, 15 divided by 3 is 5. And x squared divided by x squared just 5. And then minus 21 divided by 3 is 7. And x squared divided by x5 is x3. And this is what is left. And that's my answer. Okay, everybody understand how to factor the greatest common factor? So just factor what they have in common. And inside the parentheses, just write down what is left. Okay, everybody get that? Yes. Okay, let's do some with 2 terms, 3 terms. So let's do which one? 5 or 6? Pick one. Okay, let's do 5. So we're gonna go over, we're gonna factor 6, 24, and 30. They three of these numbers are divisible by 6. So we're gonna pull out 6, and then looking at the numbers, looking at the x's, they don't have in common nothing because the last term doesn't have x. So we're just gonna factor 6. So when you pull out 6, what is left? X squared minus 4x plus 5. After you factor the greatest common factor, you need to see how many terms. There are 3 terms. And here we're gonna factor trinomial. This is how you factor trinomial. You're gonna get the factors of the last number, which are 1 times 5, and also -1 times -5 is also +5. And then you're gonna see which 2 of those numbers add up to -4. Unfortunately, none of those add up to -4. That means you cannot factor this, and this is the most you can do. Everybody remember factoring trinomial? You get the factors of the last one, and then you try to get 2 factors, but in this case, it doesn't work. So that's my answer. You can go more from there. Okay, let's do the next one the same way. So we're going to factor the greatest common factor here. We have 8, 12, and 10. So we're going to pull out what is all of those divisible by 2, right? And then you have only 1x. So when you take out 2x, you have 4x squared plus 6x minus 5. And technically, this is what you have only. This is what you're going to get. There's nothing more you can do here also. And that's my answer. Just pull it out 2x. Okay, now let's do number 7 or 8. One of those. Actually, all of those questions, they're the same. We have all of those questions, actually. The 6 of those, they're the same. So pick, let's do 2 of those. Which one? 7 to 12. Let's pick 2. There are 4 terms. So we're going to do those the same way. Which one you want me to do start with? Let's start with 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which one? Let's start with 7. If you don't pick, I'll pick. Okay, somebody said 9. We're going to do 9 also. Okay, let's do 7. So looking at the numbers 15, 20, 6, and 8, they don't have nothing divisible by all of them together, right? Because 15 is divisible by 3 and 5, and 8 is divisible by 2 only. It's not divisible by 3, so you can't do that. So in this case, looking at the x's, they don't have nothing, all of those, they don't have anything in common together. But if you don't have anything in common, you're going to look what they have in groups. So I'm going to do factor by grouping. So I'm going to look at the first group, these 2, and then you're going to look at the second 2 and see what they have in common in that group. So 15 and 20, both of those are divisible by 5. So I'm going to pull out 5, and they also have x in common. So when I do that in the first group of, so you technically factor in those 2 and those 2. This is how you do it. So 15, when you take out 5x, is going to be 3z plus when you factor out 5x from 20x is going to be what left? 4. Because 20 divided by 5 is 4. And then in the second group, let's see what they have in the second group. They have y, and also both of those numbers are divisible by 2. So it's going to be 2y in common. And then what is left? 3z plus 4, right? So when you factor by grouping 4 terms, if you can factor it, you're always going to get this and this the same. So if they're the same, you're going to pull that out. You're going to factor it like a common factor. So you're going to have in front 3z plus 4. That's the common factor for those 2 terms. And then 5x plus 2y is going to be left. And that's my final answer. So this is how you factor by grouping. So you factor in the first group what they have in common, factor in the second group what they have in common, and then inside the parentheses, you're going to get something the same, which is going to be the common factor, and then finish from there. Okay, makes sense? So that's how you do this. Now, let me put it a little up. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do number 9. So number 9, we're doing the same way. So I'm going to look all the way from the first to the last term. There are 4 terms. Do they have anything in common, all of those? They have 3. So you always factor GCF first. Look if they have something in common, all of those. So they have 3 and x. All of the terms, they have 3x. So when you factor 3x, what is left? We have left with xy minus 2x minus 3x is in front, y, and then plus 2, right? Like that. Okay, and then from here, we're gonna factor by grouping. We're gonna try to factor by grouping. So I'm gonna make groups now. We pull out 3x from everything, and then you're gonna factor by grouping. So looking at my first group, This is my first group, and this is my second group. So in the first group, what they have in common? Both of those terms, they have x's. So I'm going to pull out x. And what is left? Y minus 2. And then in the second group, I also have y and 2, but it's negative 1 and positive 2. So I'm going to pull out negative 1. And that's going to change the sign. It's going to be y minus 2. See, when you factor negative, negative times negative 1 times y is negative 1y. And negative 1 times negative 2 give me exactly positive 2. So you see, we get the same y minus 2 is the same. So we're going to get, we're going to factor that out. So you have y minus 2 in front. And then you're going to put what is left, x minus 1 is left inside the second parenthesis. And don't forget to bring down the 3x, because that was the common factor for everything. So that's how you factor completely. You factor the greatest common factor first, always. And then after that, if you have 4 terms, you factor by grouping. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, let's do one more by grouping, and then we can finish this in groups. So which one you want me to do? 8, 10, 11, 12. Or no more? Did you guys get it? 11? Okay. Okay, let's do 11. Okay, so number 11, we have what we have here. We need to look at the numbers. 56, 24, 70, 30. So what they're divisible by? Looks like they don't have anything in common, right? Because the first 3 have x, and the last one doesn't have x. The last 3 have y. No, 2 of those have y, and 2 of those doesn't have y. So they don't have nothing in common pretty much. Can you see something in common? No. And the numbers are 70, 30, so there is no 7 in common, there is no 3 in common. So we're just gonna continue with factor by grouping. So in the first group, what is the common factor? So looking at the numbers 56 and 24, what they're divisible by?
8.
8, that's right. So I'm gonna pull out 8, and then what is left? 7. And actually not only 8, you can pull out what else? An x also, right?
Yes.
Let's pull out x also. So we're gonna have 8x and then 7x plus 3 times 8 is 24, and then y, because x is out. So this is what you have inside, and then we're gonna looking at the second group. We have negative, both of those are negative, so I'm gonna pull out the negative, and what is the common factor? Just 10. And inside you're gonna get the same, 7x plus 3y. And then that's the common factor, so pull out 7x plus 3y in front. And then 8x minus 10 is left. And this is the, oh, so looking at the numbers here, you can factor out 2, right? You can factor a little more because 8 and 10, they're divisible by 2, right? So we're gonna pull out 2. And when you pull out 2, what is left? 4x minus 5. So every time when something is left, so we didn't see that 2 is in common. All of those are even numbers. But even if you don't see it, after you factor it, you can see that there's something in common. So I'm gonna pull out 2, and the 2 is gonna go in front, and then bring down the 7x plus 3y. Like that. Okay? Any questions? So that's my final answer. So even if you forget to pull out the 2, you can do it in the end. But make sure, looking at the final answer, make sure you have all of the parentheses. Inside the parentheses, they don't have anything in common, okay? So this is how you do the factor by grouping. Any questions? No? So I'm gonna do the rest in groups. Now let's talk about factor trinomials completely. So I told you how to do the trinomials if you have x squared in front. So if there is no x in front of the square. So if you like this, the whole page is about that. So if you have this page is about factoring with just one x squared, one in front of the x squared. So let's do a few of those. Which one you want to do? Let's start with 13. So how you factor trinomials? We're gonna start with the last term with no x, and you're gonna get the factors of 8. So factors of 8 at 1 times 8 is 8, right? And 2 times 4 is 8. These are all the factors, right? Now, because it's positive x, you can have both of the positive 8, you can have both of those positive, or you can have it also -1 times -8, right? Or you can have also -2 times -4, because negative times negative, it's a +8, right? So these are all possible combinations of two numbers which give me factors, possible combination of factors which give me 8. So now what you do from here, you're going to get which group of 2 factors add up to the middle number. So what is the middle number? -6. So 1 plus 8 is not -6. Obviously, I'm going to look at the negative numbers. And the numbers I'm going to use are -2 and -4 add up to -6, right? So after you do that, what you're doing with these 2 numbers, I call them magic numbers because we need to find those numbers. When you multiply -2 times -4, we get +8. And when you add them, you get -6. So what you do in those magic numbers, you're just gonna put x next to them, and that's your factor form. How you put x to them? Just put x minus 2 times x minus 4. And that's the answer. Okay, so if there is 1 in front of x squared, that's all what you're doing. You have to find the magic numbers and put the x's next to them. Okay, everybody remember this? Okay, let's do one more or 2 more. Which one you want me to do next? 14, 15, 16, 17, or 18?
18.
18. Okay, let's do 18. Thank you. So 18, we're gonna start with factors of 15. So factors of 15, that's 1 and 5. I'm sorry, 1 times 15 and 3 times 5, right? That's it. Now, I need to get -15 though, because it's a -15. So that means I can have -1 and 15, or I can have 1 and -15. I can have -3 times 5, or I can have 3 times -5. So these are all the combinations, right? To get a -15. So now looking at those 4 different combinations, different factors, which multiply and get me -15, which one of those give me the middle, -2? So that's 3 minus 5 is -2. That's right. That's right. So what you're doing from here, you just put x next to the 3 and -5. Now, 3 obviously is positive 3, right? So it's going to be x plus 3 and x minus 5. Now, every time you factor, if you're not sure, you can FOIL to check it, to double check. How you FOIL? You do F first, outside, inside, and last. So if you FOIL, you're going to check your answer. That's how you check it. If you're not sure, how you check it? You multiply x times x, x squared, x times -5, -5x, and then plus 3x is exactly -2x. And then 3 times -5 is exactly -15. So you can double check your work when you FOIL, okay? That was 18. That's the answer for 18. Now let's go ahead and do 19 or 20. Let's do one of those. Which one?
19.
19, okay, thank you. Okay, so for 19, what you're gonna do, we're gonna look for greatest common factor first because there is 7 in front of x squared. So the method I just show you works if you have only x squared, there is a 7 in front. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna factor the greatest common factor, and luckily that's 7, right? So I'm gonna pull out 7 in front. So what I'm gonna get inside is gonna be x squared, just one x squared. And then minus 6 times 7 is 42, right? X plus 5. So luckily, after I factor the greatest common factor, which is the number, exactly the number in front of x squared, I get something with 1x squared. So how you deal from there? The same way we just did it, 1 and 5, because it's a positive 5, so it's going to be positive 1 times 5. These are the only two factors, or -1 and -5. Give me positive 5. Okay, so which one add up to -6? Obviously, the magic numbers are -1, -5. They add up to the -6 I need to get. So my answer is going to be x minus 1. Just put x next to those magic numbers. And x minus 5. And also don't forget, we have 7 in front of it. So these 7 also have to go down. Okay, and that's my final answer for 19. And 20 is going to be the same way. You're going to pull out 3, and you're still going to get something with x squared only. There's not going to be number in front of x squared. Okay, so that's how you do this factor in trinomial. The next one here, the next page, it's about factor in trinomial if you have a number in front of the square. So now here we have a few different methods. I'm not going to say a lot, but a few different methods. So let me know how you know this. It's called AC method, but there are different AC methods. And why they're called AC method? Because the quadratic equation usually has the form ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the quadratic form. And a and c are numbers. Like that means a is not 1, a is something. So AC method, you're multiplying a and c. You're multiplying those two numbers. That's why it's called AC method. Now, so there are different methods from here. The AC by grouping, AC shortcut, different methods. So let me know which one, or trying error method, which one you know, how you know to factor this. Somebody know how to factor this? Let's say 21, 22 doesn't matter. Let's do 21. Do you guys know how to solve, how to factor 21? Or you want me to show you methods? Okay, I'm going to show you one. If you don't know, I'll show you a method where you can, it's called AC by grouping. And then after that, I can show AC shortcut. Okay, so this is the AC by grouping. So multiplying A times C, so multiplying 6 times 2, what is 6 times negative 2 is what? Negative 12, right? So looking at negative 12, now I need to get the factors of negative 12, which add up to the positive 1, add up to the middle number. So pretty much after you multiply and see, you do the same we just did with 1 in front of x squared. So 12 has factors 1 and 12. What else? 2 and 3. I'm sorry, 2 and 6. And then 3 and 4. And that's it, right? So these are all the factors of 12, but because it's negative 12, one of those is negative. And also this is positive 1, so the bigger number is positive. So it's going to be like this. Make sense? So all these numbers, when you multiply, you get negative 12. And when you add them, it's going to be a positive number. But the number we need to get when you add those two numbers, two factors, should be positive 1. So what are the magic numbers here? The magic numbers are what plus what is 1?
-3 and 4.
Good job. -3 and 4 add up to positive 1. That's right. So those are my magic numbers, -3 and 4. Now, what you do in those two numbers, instead of putting x next to them and just get the answer because we have 6 in front, here with the fact, you can do different things from here. So from here, actually, you have different methods. You can split the middle one. So the middle 1x is going to be -3x plus 4x. And then bring everything down, -2. And also you have 6x squared in front. And then from here, you're going to factor by grouping. That's why it's called AC by grouping, because you split the middle and then you factor by grouping from there. Make sense? So the AC, this is called AC by grouping. It's when you multiply A and C, get the factors of A and C, multiply them with two numbers, multiply by -12 and add up to the middle. And then you split the middle and then you factor by grouping. How you factor by grouping? In the first group, what they have in common? 3 and x, right? So when you pull out 3x in the first group, you have 2x minus 1. And in the second group, they have in common 2. So I'm going to pull out 2. And what is left? 2x minus 1, right? And then 2x minus 1 is the same. So that's what's going to go in front. 2x minus 1 in front. And then what is left? 3x plus 2. So this is AC method by grouping. Okay? Everybody get that? Now I'm going to show you AC shortcut in a minute. Okay, you got it? I mean, this is pretty good method, straightforward. Just remember to split the middle term, and then factor by grouping. Okay, let me show you the AC by, so this is AC grouping. And then let me show you, this is G. So let me show you here in 22. I'm gonna show you how to do AC shortcut. So this is gonna be a shortcut. And why shortcut? Because after I find the magic numbers, I'm gonna write the answer. So this is what I'm doing. You're still gonna multiply A times C. What is A times C? 5 times H is what? 40, right? Positive 40. So now from here, we need the factors of 40, positive 40, which are up to -14. because they add up to negative 14. That means I'm gonna get -1 times -40, right? These are all the factors. I'm gonna write them. There are a lot, but obviously it's -10 times 4, -4. So these are my magic numbers because 14 is easy. 14 is just 4 and 10. So these are my magic numbers, but technically you have, if you don't see those, technically you have to go through all the factors, and all the factors are 1 times 40, 2 times 20, both of those negative, right? What else? 3, 4 times 10, 5 times 6. I mean, there are not too many numbers, but you kind of go over it to list them. And then, so I have 2 times -20, 4 times 10, -5 times -8, right? And actually that's it. Okay, so now obviously -10 and -40 are my magic numbers. So now what I'm doing with those magic numbers, I'm gonna put X next to them. So the shortcut goes like this. I'm gonna put X next to those numbers. So it's gonna be X minus 10 and X minus 4. But now because I multiply by 5, and now I need to divide those numbers by 5. And then what you're doing from here, you reduce if you can. See 10, and you can divide here 10 and 5, you can just divide it. So it's gonna be 2, right? And 4 and 5 doesn't reduce. So if you can reduce the fraction, you move the 5 in front of the X. So the final answer is gonna be X minus 2. That's my first factor. And then 5X minus 4. And that's it. That's your factor completely 4. So now let me know which method you like better. AC by grouping or AC shortcut? No preferences here?
Probably AC shortcut since it seems shorter.
Okay. Okay, I want this too. Okay. Somebody like the AC groupings? Okay, so I'm gonna do this when I do it together. Now let's do one more. Pick one from 23 all the way to 28. Pick one. Pick one more or two more.
28.
28. Okay. So let's do 28. So I'm going to do AC method. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 8 negative. I'm sorry, 12 times 6. What is that? 72, right? And it's a negative 72. So that means, so you can have one positive and one negative number, right? And we're going to start getting all the factors. They have to add up to +1. Can you see the two numbers multiply and get negative 72 and add up to 1? 9 times 8, right? Because they have to have a difference of 1. But if you want to write them all, let's start with 1 times 72. Because the positive one, so that means the negative is the smaller. 2 times 36. 3 times, what is 72? 24, right? Yeah, 24. I wasn't sure. 24. 72. I can divide by 4. 18. So what you're doing here, we just get 1, you divide by 1, then by 2, by 3, by 4. It's not divisible by 5. You can, if it's divisible by 2 and 3, you can do 6. So 72 is 12, right? You already have, that's how you get 72. And always one of the smaller number is negative. Then the next one is 7 times, no, 7, no. 7, 8. 8 times 9, right? So 8, trying to erase this. 8 times 9, negative 8. And then the next one is going to be 9 times 8. You already have it, so that's it. These are all the factors which give you 72. And the smaller number have to be negative and the bigger has to be positive, because when you add positive and negative, you find the difference between them and you keep the sign of the bigger number, because you have positive 1 in the middle. We have to have the bigger number positive. Now, which one of those are my magic numbers? Can you see that? Which are up to positive 1? The last two, right? Okay, and then from here, I'm gonna put X next to the numbers, and then I'm gonna divide by 12, because I multiply by 12, I'm gonna divide those numbers by 12. So I have X minus 8 over 12. So this is the only thing if you do the shortcut, don't forget to divide by the first number. And X plus 9 over 12. And then you're gonna reduce. So 12 and 8, you can divide by 4. So it's gonna be 2, and this is gonna be 3, and 3 is gonna go in front. And here I'm gonna divide by 3. It's gonna be 3 and 4. And 4 is gonna go in front of the X. Okay, so my final answer is gonna be 3x minus 2 multiplied by 4x plus 3. Okay, any questions? So that's how you do this one, AC method, shortcut method, when you factor trinomials. And then you do all of this the same way. Okay, so that's how you do trinomials. Now let's do binomials. So when you have binomials, you have squares or cubes. And looking at this, you have actually only squares, because the cubes, when you factor GCF, they're going to become squares. So these are the two options for squares. When you have squares, I'm going to write it as a formula, and you can just use it like that. So if I have, I'm going to use a squared minus b squared, which means I have difference of squares. You can factor it as a minus b times a plus b. So this is how you factor it. And if you have a sum, if you have a squared plus b squared, if you have plus in the middle, like number 31 have plus in the middle, you see that? Square plus square, you can factor this. This is prime. This is the easiest one. You can just put prime. It's a prime, and you can factor it. It's not factorable. Make sense? Everybody understand that? So looking at this, number 31 is prime. There's nothing you can do. They don't have common factor, and just put prime. Not factorable. Okay? Do I have another one on this page with plus? I do, but see this one, number 33, I have plus, but I have common factor. So for 33, I can factor 25. So I can still factor 25. I'm not writing prime because I have 25 in common. And I'm going to write what is left, x squared plus 4. Everybody see that? So always look for greatest common factor, always. Okay? And we don't have more with plus in the middle. So we're gonna factor everything else. So how you factor everything else? You technically look at the middle. If it's minus, you can factor. And you technically take square root of, you take square root of first, square root of the second, that's your A and B. So look at this like square root of x squared and square root of 49. This is kind of trick to use. What is square root of x squared? That's x minus square root of 49 is 7, right? So just write x minus 7 and put the same with plus in the middle, x plus 7. And that's it. Okay, that's my answer. Okay, the next one, 30. If you want to factor 4x squared minus 81, it's a minus in the middle. I can just take square root, square root. So square root of 4a squared is x squared is going to be 2x minus square root of 81 is 9. And you do the same with plus 2x squared, 2x plus 9, like that. Okay? And that's my answer. Now, if I want to do number 32, looking at the numbers 2 and 32, they are not perfect squares, right? So you have to take out the greatest common factor first. So what they have in common? 2 and x. Both of those have 2 and x in common. That's why I said the greatest common factor is the first thing you're going to factor out first. So 32 divided by 2 is 16x squared minus x. No, x is out, minus 1. And then inside, you can factor binomial. So you can factor the square root here and square root here. So you're going to have square root of 16 is 4x minus square root of 1 is 1. And then you do the same with plus. So inside the second parenthesis, you're going to have 4x plus 1. Don't forget here, we have 2x in front. So bring that down, 2x in front. And that's your answer. Okay, any questions? So that's how you do those. And the next one are the same way. So let's do one. I mean, obviously this one, 34 is going to be 7 minus 4. I'm sorry, 7 minus x and 7 plus x. Now for those two, 35 and 36, you have to factor the greatest common factor. So what you have in this one for number 35, both of those have x in common, and it's going to be left x squared minus 1. And then you do the binomials. So it's going to be x in front, and then x minus 1 and x plus 1. Okay, that's my answer. The next one is the same way. You're going to factor the common factor, which is 3 and x. And then you have left with x squared minus 4. And again, x squared minus 4, you can factor square root of x squared is just x. Minus square root of 4 is 2. And you copy the same with plus, x plus 2. And then you put the 3x in front. Don't forget, you have to bring everything down. Okay, any questions? And here we have the preview solving equations by factoring. Let's do one or two and then.
What was
that,
36
and
again?
then continue next time from there. I'm sorry, which one?
36?
30. There. Yes, here we go.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so factoring binomial, it's always like, if it's minus, you can do it. If it's plus, you can, but you always look for greatest common factor first. Okay, so then we're gonna just go over this preview, and then we can solve by factoring next time, because we have 2 days for this this topic, and we're gonna finish this next time with zero factor property, and then after that on next Monday, we're gonna talk just in general quadratic methods. So we're going to solve a lot of equations next Monday. Okay, so here's the example we have. They give me the graph of this function x squared plus 3x minus 10. The x-intercepts are -5 and 2. These are my x-intercepts. Can you use the x-intercept? We can use to write the factor form of this quadratic function. So this is how you get it. X is, see, they show me how they get it. X equals -5 and x equals 2. Those are the x-intercepts, right? Those two are my x-intercepts. And the x-intercepts are the solution for you adding, you just make it equal 0. So this is my factor and this is my factor, how I get the x-intercepts. So when you multiply them and combine like terms, you get the function. You see, the original function can be factored if I use the x-intercepts when I put x next to them and switch the sign. See, this is what I want you to pay attention. It's -5, the x-intercept. The factor is x plus 5. The x-intercept is a 2. The factor is x minus 2. So from the x-intercept, you can get the factors. And these are the factors. When you factor, when you FOIL distribute, you're going to get the original form. So the factor form is pretty much when you factor the function, technically. Make sense? Everybody understand that? Okay, let's do another example. So here we have x squared minus 4x is the function. We have the x-intercept at 0 and 4. So these are my x-intercepts. 0 and 4, positive 4, right? So the factor is going to be just x, because x plus 0, x minus 0 is 2x. And the other one is going to be x minus 5. You always switch it, right? You make it opposite. And then when you multiply x times x minus 4, you're going to get the original function. Okay, so here we have, this is the origin, the graph, the quadratic, the standard form. This is standard form of the function. Standard form. And this here is the factor form. Why you need the factor form? Because factor form, it's easy to find the x-intercepts. You solve, that's how you're going to solve it. You solve each of the factors equals 0, and that's how you solve it. If I use the standard form, probably I need to use the quadratic formula or different method to solve it. Make sense? Okay, so let's try this. So here we have to do, hold on. Okay, that's the last page. So here we have to try this. We have to sketch the graph. They give me the graph in which form, standard or factor form?
Factored.
Factor form, good job, factor form. So from the factors, I'm going to get the x-intercept. So what is the x-intercept? X equals 5, opposite of -5 is 5, right? And from here, from the second factor, I'm going to get x equals -2. So those are my x-intercepts. So the graph is going to go through 5 and -2. So I'm going to have -2 and 5. Okay. Now, how I know if it's open up or down? It's open up if I have x squared and it's up and down if I have negative in front of x squared. So if I FOIL this, if I multiply x minus 5x plus 5, what I'm gonna get? I'm gonna get x squared plus 2x minus 5x minus 10. I'm FOIL distributing x times 2, negative 5 and negative 10. And when I combine those two, I'm gonna get x squared, and I'm gonna write it here actually, minus 3x minus 10. So this is pretty much going backwards from factoring. So if I go this way, if I have this and I get the one before, it's factor. If I go this way, you FOIL or distribute. Make sense? They're opposite operations. They cancel each other. So I know the function is x squared positive. That means it's the parabola is open up, right? It's going to look something like this. I mean, mine is not exactly symmetrical, but should be something like this. Okay? And it's going through -2 and +5 at the x-intercepts. Any questions? Sketch the graph. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and look at the next one. Let's try this one. So again, you have +6 and -6. So if I FOIL, I'm going to get x squared minus 36, right? Because I know we just factor -6 plus 6 is going to be minus 36. Now it's going to be open up. And what are the x-intercepts? Can you tell me the x-intercepts? -6 and +6, right? So that's what you're gonna, yes, that's right. Good job. So I'm gonna put 6 and -6. And it's gonna be open up. It's gonna be symmetrical, something like this. So that's the graph. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, let's look at this example where they show us common mistake, I guess, yes. So the graph of this function is given 6x squared minus x minus 12. X-intercepts are 3/2 and -4/3. We can use the x-intercept to write the function in factor form using x equals 3/2, x equals -4/3. So what's happened here, you just getting everything the same side equals 0 to get the factor. So multiplying by 2 both sides, the first one, then you're gonna reduce the 2 and 2 cancel. So I get 2x plus 3 and then subtract 3, give me, this is my first factor. So from 3/2, you get factor 2x minus 3. And the same idea with -4/3. We're gonna multiply both sides by 3. We're gonna move the 4/overs, add 4. So the factor is gonna be 3x plus 4. And the factor form is just gonna be when you put them next to each other and distribute. See, they FOIL it, and this is the form they get, the standard form. Okay, everybody understand when the factors, when the x-intercepts are fractions, pretty much you're gonna get numbers in front of the x for the factors. Make sense? So be careful when you have fractions. That means you're gonna have factors which have a number in front of the x's. Make sense? Any questions on this? Okay, so now we have, let's see what else we have. Solving by factoring, we're gonna do that next time. Okay, any can have it. Okay, so we're going to continue page 147. And we have some applications here about the graph and finding the x-intercept of quadratic function. So we have the quadratic function given. Now, we did that before, so you should be familiar with this, how the parabola is open, up or down. You're going to look at the number in front of the square. If it's positive, it's open up, right? Now, the axis of symmetry is going to be when you find the vertex. It's going to be x equals h. So I need h and k first. So looking at my quadratic function, what is a? A is the number in front of x squared, so it's going to be 2. B is the number in front of x, so it's 8. And C, there's no number by itself, so it's going to be 0. And this is my ABC. And I'm going to use the vertex formula, negative B over 2A. That's the formula. So we're going to plug it in. So I have negative 8 is B over 2 times A is 2. And that's going to be negative 8 divided by 4 is 2. So the first coordinate for the vertex is negative 2, comma. So that tells me that axis of symmetry is going to be negative 2. And then finding k is going to be just plug it in negative 2 for each x. So it's going to be 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2. So what is that? We're going to get 8 minus 16 is negative 8. So the second number in the vertex is going to be negative 8. The second coordinate is negative 8. Okay. Now the y-intercept is when you put 0 for x, so it's going to be 0, 0. So it's going to be 0. The y-intercept is 0, 0. Okay. Then finding the x-intercept, we need to solve the function equals 0. So here what you're doing, you're going to factor out, or you can use the quadratic formula, but factoring it's easier. So you're going to factor the function 2x squared plus 8x. You're going to factor out 2nx, and you have x plus 4 left. That's how you factor it. Okay, that's a common factor is 2nx. And then you're going to solve x equals 0 and this equals 0. So you're going to get x equals 0 is one of the x-intercepts. And the other one is going to be x equals negative 4. So technically finding the x-intercept is solving the function equals 0. And here we're going to get 0 and negative 4. So those are my two x-intercepts. So I'm going to put 0. 0 is one of those. The first point, and the other one is going to be negative 4 and 0. And then what is the domain? Domain is always negative infinity, infinity. And then the parabola is open up, so that means that the range is going to be from the second number from the vertex to the infinity. So it's going to be from negative 8 to infinity. With parentheses. Infinity has parentheses, and negative 8 has bracket. Okay, so that's the domain and range. So now let's graph it. So how you graph it? You're going to start with the vertex, negative 2, negative 8. That's my vertex there. What else? Y-intercept and x-intercept at 0, 0. And then negative 4 and 0. So those are my two x-intercepts. And the y-intercept is also 0, 0. And then you're going to connect those and you're going to draw the graph. The parabola is going up like this. And also keep in mind, we have the axis of symmetry at x equals -2. Okay, any questions? So this is my axis of symmetry going through the vertex. Okay, any questions here? Any questions? Okay, and then we have here some questions we're gonna discuss. We have the height. Oops. The height in feet of a small rocket t seconds after it's launched is given by the function. How long is the rocket in the air? So how are you gonna find that? When you solve it equals 0, you're gonna find out when it's gonna hit the ground, right? So the time when the rocket hit the ground is gonna be the time, all the time when the rocket is in the air. So technically you have to solve the function equals to 0. So we have -16 t squared plus 128t equals 0. And you're going to solve this when you factor. So here I'm just technically showing you how to solve by factoring. So what they have in common, t and I think 16, 128, when you divide by 16, is going to be 8. So I can pull out -16. I'm going to pull the -16t. And then you're going to get t minus 8. And then that's equals 0. So the first one is going to be 0. Obviously, it's going to be 0 because there is no number by itself. If you remember for the functions where you throw a ball or something, rocket in the air, the number with no x is the, or no t, is the height, the starting point. So here, because there is no number, so that means you throw the rocket from the ground. And then the second time when the rocket is in the ground, here is going to be at 8 seconds. So that means the rocket is going to be in the air for the whole 8 seconds. Everybody understand that? So that's my answer, 8 seconds. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions here? Okay, let's do the next one. When is the rocket at 112 feet high? So what you need to do is solve that equals 112. So I'm going to solve -16 t squared plus 128 t equals 112, or subtract 112 equals 0. Okay, so when you solve this equation, you're going to find when the rocket is going to be at height 112. And here, I think I show you how to do this with symbol app. I'm going to use that. It's going to be easier for that way. So I'm going to go to let me get here symbol app. And we have -16. So I'm going to just put it like that. -16 t squared plus 128t minus 112 equals 0. Is that what it is? Let me double check. 112, 128, yes. And then we're gonna get t equals 1, t equals 7. So these are the two places after the first second and after the seconds is gonna be at that high. Okay, any questions? Or you can solve this using the quadratic formula also. We did quadratic formula last time. Any questions? Okay, so that's how you do number 28. And then number 29, it's about, the next one is the error. So number 29, it's about if you have equation 3x squared plus 9x equals 0, how are you going to solve it? With quadratic formula, with zero product property, or what is the difference between those two? And which method you're going to prefer? So the quadratic formula works always, right? Now the factor method, the factoring method is used when you have, when the equation is factorable, okay? So for this one, when you have binomial, it's easier to factor it and then solve it. It's faster to factor it. So if you do the formula, you're gonna have A is 3, B is gonna be 9, and C is gonna be 0. That's what you're using for the formula. If you factor, you're gonna pull out, it's easier probably to factor because you can just pull out 3 and x, and you're gonna have x plus 3 equals 0. And it's easier to solve it like that. So factoring method is easier in this case. So B is easier. The method is B is easier because when when C equal B is easier. Why it's easier? It says B is easier. Why B is easier? Because when B is equal 0, it's easy to factor. When you have two terms, you just pull out x and you solve it. So when C is equal 0, it's always easier to do factoring. So this is like a shortcut. When C is 0, use factoring. This is faster way. And also remember what I told you, if B is equal 0, what you're doing? Square root method. Remember that? We did that last time. Okay, so if you have B 0, when you have x squared number only, square root is faster. When C 0, when you don't have number with no x, or when you have only x squared and x, factoring is easier. Okay, any questions? Everybody understand that? Now let's find a mistake. So what's happened? What is the mistake here? Can you pull out 4 like that?
Instead of just regular 4,
Because
we're just supposed to put 4x.
So what is the common factor here? We have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. What they have in common, all of those 3 terms? Looking at the numbers, 4, 12, and 9, are they divisible by the same number? No, right? 4, if you factor out 4, you have to factor out 4 here, so this is going to be 3, and this 9 is not divisible by 4. So you can do that. You can factor it. Okay, you can factor it like this. How are you going to factor this? Let's fix it. Let's correct it. What is the proper way of solving this? if you have number in front of x squared, what you do with those two numbers? What is the method I showed you? What is called? Multiply them. That's right. You're going to multiply 4 and 9. Good job. And that's the AC method. Everybody remember the AC method? You can use shortcut or you can use AC by grouping. You have to multiply. So if I want to finish 4 times 9 is 36. Then I have to get factors of 36, which are up to 12. So you have 1 times 36, because both of those are positive, and the middle is 12, so it have to be all positives. What else? 2 times 18, right? 3 times 12. They need to add up to 12. 4 times 9. 6 times 6, right? Is the next one. And that's all of it, right? These are all the factors of 36. So now, which two factors add up to 12? Those are my magic numbers, right? 6 and 6. 6 times 6 is 36 and add up to 12. So now what you do with 6 and 6? You put x next to them. And what you need to remember, you need to divide by 4 because you have the 4 in front of the square. And it's going to be the same factors. So you have x plus 6 again. They're the same factors. And you divide both of those by 4. And then you reduce. 4 and 6 and 4 divide by 2. There's going to be 3 and 2. And these 2 is going to go in front. The same way here, 3 and 2. Obviously, you're going to have the same factors. So it's going to be 2x. You put the 2 in front, plus 3. And you're going to square, you can write it like this. Instead of writing 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3, you can just write it like this. Square means multiply 2 times by itself. Okay? So this is how you have to factor proper. You have to, don't just factor 4 because the 12 and 9 doesn't have 4 in common. I mean, 12 has, but not 9. You need to do AC method. You multiply A and C, which is 4 times 9 is 36. And then get the factors of 36, which are up to 12. And then those two magic numbers, you put x next to them, but you also divide by 4 because you multiply by 4. So you're going to divide by this number by 4. And then you're going to reduce and you're going to get your factor form. Everybody understand that? So this is how you factor. You got it? Any questions? Okay, so this is all what you have in today. We're just factoring all different things.